Chapter 416, He Lost. Tan Shilin avoided eye contact. He didn't dare to admit what happened last night, so he could only smooth things over with a smile. Sweetheart, perhaps someone accidentally touched me? I really don't know, it must have been an accident. Li Shishi knew that he wasn't reliable, so he could do whatever he wanted once she became the young madam of the Tan family. Tan Shilin, you liar! Li Shishi turned to leave, but she was stopped by Tan Shilin. Shishi, where are you going? Why do you care? Since you don't want the child, I'll tell old master that you don't want his grandchildren. Li Shishi cried. Shut up, Li Shishi, I have treated you right. I can give you anything, but I can't promise you anything. You can spend my money however you want, but I can't be loyal to you. Tan Shilin's rubbish words made Li Shishi uncomfortable. Shameless, how could you say such things, Tan Shilin? Let me warn you, you better get rid of all your love debts. As long as I become the young madam of the Tan family, whatever you do will have nothing to do with me. But during this period of time, you'd better behave yourself. Li Shishi was a public figure, and if her husband cheated on her, it would definitely be big news. She couldn't afford to be embarrassed. What are you guys arguing about? Old Master Tan came out walking with a stick. Dad, I heard everything. Shilin, can't you work harder? You already angered Xiao Hu away, and now you return with another troublemaker. What exactly do you want? You don't even care about the Tan family's company. How did I give birth to such a prodigal son? Old Master cursed. Old Master, Shilin, You shut up too. Why are you interrupting me when I'm lecturing my son? Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're pregnant with the Tan family's child. Don't forget that you're also a mistress. You squeezed Xiao Hu away and used despicable means to seduce my son. He couldn't resist the temptation and took the bait. You succeeded, but don't forget about me. Old Master Tan stared at her with his eagle-like eyes. Li Shishi pursed her lips in silence. Shilin, I don't care what you're doing outside, but you have to take into the Tan family's business. Don't embarrass me. Old Master Tan warned. Later, Yaxin returned home after a night, and Xu Yanshan was furious. You brat, you went out and didn't dare to come back at night. Where were you the entire night? She grabbed Yaxin and interrogated her. You still care about me? Wasn't I just a money-making tool? Are you afraid that you won't have money-making tool after I die? Xu Yanshan was so furious and anxious when she saw her daughter in such a state that she slapped her. Yanshan, you can't just hit the child no matter what. Zhao Shumi hugged her granddaughter and scolded her. Mom, can't you see how spoiled she is? The marriage is about to succeed, but she insisted on rejecting it and even dared to stay out late. Xu Yanshan wanted to continue fighting but was stopped by Zhao Shumi. You're not allowed to hit her. You can only ask her about it. My dear, dear granddaughter, where were you the entire night? Who were you with? Where did you stay? Zhao Shumi asked carefully. Yaxin laid in Zhao Shumi's arms and cried. You're still crying? Tell me, where did you go last night? Wouldn't I be humiliated if the Zhu family finds out? Xu Yanshan was furious. She picked up the broom casually, wanting to hit her. Why do you care? You don't care about me. I'm better off dead. Yaxin retorted and returned to the room. Outrageous. I think you've been influenced by Anran. Come back. Xu Yanshan refused to budge. Yanshan, no one can accept marrying such a person, let alone Yaxin. Can't you just let her accept it after some time? Zhao Shumi thought about it and felt aggrieved. It wasn't easy to meet a wealthy family, but he was a fool. Only a fool would accept a family such as them. The Lan family's reputation had long been gone. I'm so angry. She was probably fooling around with a man last night. Look at her. No wonder she couldn't win against Anran. She's useless. Xu Yanshan cursed. She regretted falling for Tingyi and giving birth to this troublesome girl. Yanshan, let's delay the marriage. Yaxin can't get married like this. Let's wait until she thinks a bit through. Zhao Shumi thought and said, Mom, I can wait, but the Zhu family can't. That old man is getting old and he won't live for long. If we don't let Yaxin give birth to a grandson for him while he's still alive, how can he be at ease to give all his assets to Yaxin? Chu Yanshan thought about it and turned to shout at Yaxin's door. You'd better think this through. Who treats you well, you heartless thing? Yaxin hugged her head in her room and cried. The soreness in her body could not compare to the pain in her heart. Now she only could listen to Tan Shilin. Besides, he had those photos. Now she really had no way of getting close to Jinrong. Since things had come like this, she couldn't give up. Just then, the school sent a message asking every intern to submit a document to prove their internship. She needed to prove that she was an intern at a company or a hospital, and that it was then that Yaxin remembered that she hadn't gone to a company for her internship. She had no idea where to get proof, so she could only look for Tan Shilin. She sent Tan Shilin a message. I want to intern at your company. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about our relationship. I just want an internship certificate. Tan Shilin had gotten scolded and was in a much better mood after receiving these messages. As the saying goes, one could enjoy the benefits from a favorable position. Wouldn't it be easier to succeed when she's close to him? He immediately sent her an invitation. Dear Yaxin, you are welcome to my company for your internship. I will give you the best position. Isn't the assistant for the general manager good? Yaxin agreed without another thought. Anyway, she could only hail Mary effort now because she had been reduced to a state where she could be manipulated at will by others. Annan had already guessed at Yaxin's terrible condition, but she felt that it wasn't enough. Compared to everything she did in her past life, this was nothing. But right now, she was in a very good mood. So good that words couldn't express it. The cosmetics she had developed had been handed over to Mosan and had fully invested in it. In the production phase, according to insiders, the effects were excellent. Chao Shen had somehow obtained the news. Although it hadn't been officially released, he was extremely nervous. His cosmetics were crazily popular in the Qin family's market. He told himself that no one was better or outstanding than him, but he was still a little nervous. Hence, he got someone from the Mo family to get him a bottle of Ayn Rand's facial cream and started researching it. But after his research, he had completely lost his confidence. He discovered that Ayn Rand's cosmetics consisted of ingredients he had never seen before, and were extremely daring on the dosage. He wouldn't dare to lay his hands on those ingredients so easily, because even the best Chinese medicine would have conflicting effects. He was afraid that the side effects would cause adverse effects on the human body, so he was extremely strict on the usage. He had even deliberately reduced their dosage, which would affect the effects. From this point on, he had lost. However, the specific results could only be determined after the market results were out. But he would be embarrassed if he said that he could beat Ayn Rand. Chapter 417, Shameless Methods. The Qin Family. What's going on? Didn't they say it would be foolproof? Did Ayn Rand start making cosmetics? Chao Shen told Qin Hao the news. Boss Qin, I have wanted to challenge her and had no intentions of going against her. I think I've lost this challenge. Chao Shen said helplessly. You lost, but the results aren't out yet. Who knows who'll win? Mr. Chao, I admire your talent, but even if you lose, I would like to hire you as our company's special cosmetics research consultant. Your salary will be higher than when you were a university student, Qin Hao said. Chao Shen shook his head. I just want to be a university student. I don't want to be a cosmetics consultant. I told you this because I wanted to explain my challenge. Chao Shen turned to leave after he finished speaking. Qin Hao called out to him hurriedly. Mr. Chao, since you don't want to be my cosmetics consultant, then I hope that you can tell me Ayn Rand's cosmetics research method. I know you definitely have them, Qin Hao said. Chao Shen shook his head. He knew that Qin Hao was famous for his cunningness, and would tamper with her cosmetics. Sorry, Boss Qin. The Mo family is rushing to produce the cosmetics, so you'll get it in 2 days like everyone else. There's no need to rush. Chao Shen left after saying that. Qin Hao sat on the sofa thoughtfully. Dad, the cosmetics market has already saturated with the Kin family's products. If the new products developed by the Mo family surpasses them, then the market we just snatched will definitely be snatched back by them, Kin Taiyan said. Find a few people and give them some money. Once their cosmetics are on the market, tell them to buy it. After that, make a scene and post it online. Kin Hao could only resort to this method. The Kin family's cosmetics market could never be snatched away by others. Kin Taiyan was startled and he remained silent. Go ahead, what are you waiting for? Kin Hao looked up at his son, seemingly sensing his resistance. Dad, this is malicious competition. I think we can defeat the Mo family through proper competition. There's no need to resort to such despicable means. I don't want them to look down at me. Kin Taiyan had a hunch that such unfair competition shouldn't appear in the Kin family's company. Shameless methods? I've been doing this since I was young and nothing has happened. This is how the Kin family developed. We worked hard to steal the market, so how could it be snatched away from them? Do you not want them to look down at you, or do you not want Ayn Rand to look down on you? Kin Hao stood up and looked at him coldly. Dad, I didn't mean that. I just don't think this kind of malicious competition is suitable for the society. It was all right in the past, but now the market is too strict. If anything goes wrong, everyone will know. I don't want the Kin family to be implicated. How are we going to lead the team if the company finds out? Are you still my son? Since the company was founded, I have done many things like this. Your living expenses, your school fees, and your house that you're living in was earned by malicious competition. I didn't see you saying anything back then. Now you don't want to agree? Let me tell you, don't even think about it. In business, one has to be ruthless. How can I leave the company to you if you continue to hesitate and cower? Kin Hao said furiously. Dad, if brother doesn't agree, I agree. I can pay to get people to do it. Kin Shu came in and said, Sure, what are you doing here? Hurry back, you can't interfere with business. Kin Taiyan didn't want his sister to be involved in such matters. Can't I interfere? I've been listening at the door for a long time. I think Dad is right. This is how business is done. How can you accomplish great things with your hesitation? Kin Shu had indeed been listening at the door for a long time. Her desire for revenge was too strong. If Ayn Rand made her look like the laughingstocks of the entire internet, making her a drop back to her. This is my good daughter. Unlike your brother, who is always hesitant in everything he does, I'll leave this matter to you. Let your brother have a good look at what the nature of the true member of the Kin family should be. His son was worse than his daughter. Dad, you can't drag Sure into this. Sure, I understand your revenge, but I can't let you do this. Kin Taiyan, on the other hand, didn't allow his sister to be agitated after the surgery. If she got involved, no one could save her if anything happened. I call the shots in this matter. If you don't want to be my son from now on, you're no longer a member of the Kin family, Kin Hao said furiously. Brother, listen to Dad. He's always right, Kin Shu said. After Jinrong left, Sheng Li dominated the company. Because Ayn Rand didn't come to the company often, Sheng Li was in charge of everything. After all, he had gotten the deeds from last time, and now that Jinrong wasn't around, he could make any decision he wanted. Hence, he took to the finance department's form that was used to request money from the financial department and signed it. The head of the finance department was a middle-aged man. He wore glasses and looked very shrewd. He took Sheng Li's list, and the numbers on it surprised him. Sorry, Mr. Mo, I can't approve of this deal or give you the money. The man smiled. Sheng Li's expression changed, thinking that he was looking down on him. What do you mean? Can't you see that it's Jinrong's seal on it? I'm his uncle. He's on a business trip, so you're saying that I can't make a decision for the Mo family? Are you looking down at me? I'm also the member of the Mo family, Sheng Li said furiously. Mr. Mo, that is not what I meant. This sum is too large. Did we lose the company seal? How did you get it? Boss Mo isn't here, so I can't approve this of you. I'll be held responsible if anything goes wrong, the man refused. Sheng Li was furious and his face turned green. Wasn't he saying that he had stolen the seal and was greedy for the company's money? What do you mean? Do you still want to work? Let me tell you, I'm his uncle and this is my company. Can't I take out a little bit of money? This is what Jinran promised me. Are you suspecting that I stole the seal, or are you suspecting that I secretly carved out a fake seal? If you don't want to work anymore, leave now. Isn't it just money? Do you have to make so many excuses? It's not even your money, Shang Li said furiously. Mr. Mo, you can't say that. I'll call Miss Lan since you want to take the money. If she agrees to let you take the money, I'll approve it for you. The man smiled. Shang Li was even more furious. He was using Ayn Rand to threaten him. Chapter 418, Fake Seal. Forget it. Ayn Rand was on his side and would probably agree, so he didn't stop him. Ayn Rand had left her phone number with all the important departments in the company, afraid that Shang Li would take the opportunity to do something bad. The call connected and the man told Ayn Rand everything that had happened in the finance department. Ayn Rand knew that he was restless, so he told them that she would be over soon. You're dead. Either you leave today or I leave. I think you don't want to work anymore. Shang Li was furious. The man didn't take it to heart. After all, everyone in the company knew that Shang Li didn't have any authority. Since Mo Jinrong was the man who hired him, this would be Jinrong who would fire him. He glanced at Shang Li's seal. It was well defined and looked authentic, but at a closer look, it seemed flawed. Mr. Mo, I followed the company's rules for today's incident. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to keep my job. Boss Mo said that before that, unless he approves the project personally, projects that are more than 50 million will have to be approved by him. Your amount is too high. I can't make the decision myself. Please forgive me. Who do you think you are? How dare you challenge me? Don't you know that I'm his uncle? I'm in charge of finance, and you're the finance director. I think you should resign and leave. Let me make this clear. This is my company, the Mo family's. I only wanted to take out some money, but you aren't willing. Do you really think that you're so important? Who do you think you are without the Mo family support? Isn't your salary paid by me, you insolent fellow? Shang Li was still nagging. The man had a smile on his face, but he was cursing internally. He had so many employees watching him, he couldn't accept it. If this went on, was he really going to take care of his employees? Don't you have anything to do? What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a situation like this before? The man vented his frustrations onto his employees. They lowered their heads and no one dared to speak. After 10 more minutes, Ayn Rand reached. After she went up, the finance department was silent and Shang Li's cursing echoed in the air. What made you so angry? Ayn Rand strode over with a smile. Ayn Rand, you're finally here. Look at the person you've recruited. I can't do my job anymore. I'm in charge of the finance department and I just want to approve of a project with some money. This person is so troublesome. He couldn't approve of the project because he was accusing me of using a fake seal one moment, then he accused me of taking out so much money the next. I am Jinrong's uncle. The entire Mo family is mine. I have a share in the company. Why can't he approve it? I just want 2 billion. Is that a lot of money? It's considered a lot for poor people like them. It doesn't matter if they don't approve of it. What matters is that he has accused me of using a fake seal. Shang Li was pale with anger. Young madam, I didn't say that. Mr. Mo, how could you accuse someone like that? When I did say that you were using a fake seal, the man said furiously. That's what I think you're saying. If you say that my stamp is fake, doesn't it mean that I have a fake seal? Shang Li was furious. He was determined to get the money and fire this man. Let's cut to the chase. Uncle, shall I have a take a look at your list? Ayn Rand smiled and said, there was indeed Mo Jinrong's stamp on the list, which had been made in the envelope from last time. She widened her eyes. This person really wanted to extort 2 billion. She smiled. Uncle, to tell you the truth, you can't take out this 2 billion out. Not to mention that your stamp has a problem. Even the account doesn't have so much money. Shang Li smiled disdainfully. The Mo Corporation was one of the biggest companies in the world, but they didn't even have 2 billion yuan in their account. Ayn Rand, did Mo Jinrong take your brain with him? The Mo Corporation was one of the top enterprises in the world. How could it not have 2 billion yuan? Don't tell me that you don't want to approve of it either. Do you despise me too? Have you never thought of me as your uncle? Shang Li questioned her, threatening to reveal Ayn Rand's identity if he didn't follow Anne continued to smile as though she didn't see his look. Look at what you're saying. You're Jinrong's biological uncle. How can I not treat you as family? It's just that there isn't so much money in the account. Also, I would like to ask, where did you get your seal? The Mo Corporation was robbed last time and we haven't found the seal yet. Jinrong had already made an application to the Trade and Commerce Bureau. Even if I approve of the amount, the stamp would lose its effect. Or did Uncle have the seal all along? Anran questioned. Anran, are you crazy? How could I have the seal? Are you still suspecting that I stole it? Jinrong isn't around and you're bullying me like this. I know that you despise me. I just don't understand why Mom likes you so much. I couldn't even take out $2 billion, and you're telling me that the company doesn't have that much money? Just tell me straight if you don't want to give it to me. There's no need to beat around the bush. Shanley looked at the finance director behind him and continued speaking. You would rather support an outsider than your uncle. Have you forgotten your promise with me? Uncle, I'm afraid that you've forgotten our agreement too. We agreed that I would take care of you at the company and help you manage the company's matters. But I didn't say that you could overstep authority. You should talk to Jinrong about this since he wants to take out 2 billion yuan. Although it isn't a loss to the company is really pressed for money. All the money in the company has been issued for other projects. If you don't believe me, you can check the accounts. Check the accounts? Shang Li was suddenly startled and he spoke to the man behind him. I want to check the accounts and see if the company has 2 billion yuan. The man and Anran looked at each other and opened the accounts. As expected, the accounts didn't even have 2 billion. He glanced at Anran. Did the money that he asked her to transfer leave so easily? Jinli couldn't believe his eyes. Uncle, did you see that? The company really doesn't have 2 billion. I wonder what you were going to use it for. Anran pretended not to know and asked. Chapter 419, Meeting Between Rivals. I just invested in a project. Coincidentally, the stock market wasn't doing well recently and I have to pay a lot of money. That's why I wanted to promote my stocks. Who knew that this person wouldn't appreciate my kindness and dare to look down at me? He's too much, Cheng Li said furiously. Manager Kai, no matter what, he is a member of the Mo family and can be considered as your superior. You can't disrespect him. And Ren criticized the finance director. Young madam, I didn't, the man explained. Uncle, I've criticized him, but he's saying the truth. You definitely can't use the company's money for personal use, but this isn't something I can decide. You'll have to wait for Jinrong to come back. Anran smiled and said. Shang Li watched as he was defeated and started to threaten Anran. Anran, you really think too highly of yourself. Have you forgotten about our... Uncle, this is the company, not a place for you to quarrel. Let's talk in private. Anran turned to leave and she was followed by Shang Li. The two of them arrived at a deserted place and started to talk about private matters. Anran, are you crazy? How dare you stop me from getting the money from the company? I'm still a boss in front of everyone, and your actions have embarrassed me. Have you forgotten that I have your secrets? Shang Li said furiously. Uncle, don't be angry. You wanted to take the money from the company so blatantly. If Jinrong finds out, I won't be able to explain myself. And if you want the money, I can transfer it to you from another place, but you can't drag me down so blatantly. If you really want the Mo family's money, be smart. Everyone in the company knows your identity. If any rumors spread to Jinrong's ears, it won't look good. Anran was furious. You dare to threaten me now? I don't think you want your secrets anymore. In that case, don't blame me for being merciless. Shang Li took out his phone, preparing to share her secret. Uncle, you have to think this through. This isn't a smart move and you'll definitely pay the price. When the time comes, don't blame me for being ruthless. I'll definitely help you, but you don't have to be so anxious. Anran threatened. Then I'll trust you again. Don't disappoint me. Transfer the money to my card as soon as possible, or you'll suffer. Anran didn't take Shang Li's threat to heart, but she still nodded pretentiously. Uncle, don't worry. This isn't a small sum. You have to give me some time, right? Anran smiled and said. Shang Li snorted and turned to leave. Manager Kai, I am just sorry for troubling you. I'll leave this account with you. If he comes back to make a fuss again, show him this account and I'll double your salary to compensate the losses you suffered today. Thank you, young madam. Manager Kai to express his gratitude. Anran sat in Jinra's office. Since Jinra wasn't around, she could temporarily take over. She had just flipped open a contract when there was a knock on the door. "Come in." A long-haired woman walked in with a lollipop in her mouth, wearing a short skirt and high heels. The two women looked at each other, sensing a trace of hostility. "Who are you?" Anran was the first to ask. The woman didn't reply and continued to chew on her lollipop. She eyed Anran and unceremoniously sat on the sofa, crossing her legs as she examined her. "Are you Mo Jinrong's wife, Anran?" she asked provocatively. "Who are you?" Anran sized her up as well. She was dressed in designer clothes, had a cool and handsome hairstyle, wore a necklace and had a ring on each of her finger. Each item was very expensive. She seemed to be a very wealthy woman. "I'm Chen Xiao. Nice to meet you. I wonder if Jinrong mentioned me to you. I just came to find him a few days ago. I can be considered his savior, and he helped me find a hotel. I've been staying here for the past few days. Did he not tell you?" Chen Xiao radiated confidence from head to toe, and Anran didn't lose to her at all. She smiled disdainfully. "So you're Chen Xiao. Jinrong mentioned you to me, but he didn't say anything about Miss Chen's appearance." Chen Xiao knew that there was a deeper meaning in her words. "What do you mean? What do I look like? Miss Lane, aren't your words a little too hurtful?" Chen Xiao asked harshly. "Miss Chen, don't be angry. Jinrong described you as a vulgar and pain-looking. Now that I look at you, you don't seem like the type Jinrong describes, but you have the temperament of a rich young lady." Anran smiled deliberately. "Is that how Jinrong described me? You have good taste. My father is a banker. You should be grateful that I saved Jinrong. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have married him today," Chen Xiao said. The more Anran looked at her, the more she disliked her. If she was just Jinrong's savior, she could treat her kindly, but she didn't expect his savior to be so arrogant. Since it was like this, there was no need for her to be polite. The most infuriating thing was that Jinrong really didn't tell her about it. Did he have a guilty conscience? "Of course I should be most grateful to you, Miss Chen. When he told me about it, I wanted to come to express my gratitude. However, I didn't expect you to come knocking on my door. Jinrong isn't here today, or else I would have treated you to a meal." Anran smiled and said, "Actually, it's all right. There's nothing wrong with two people eating. If you want, I'm willing to accompany you." Chen Xiao continued to chew on her lollipop. At this moment, the door suddenly opened. "Anran, I heard that you were here. As she spoke, she saw the woman on the sofa, who didn't seem very approachable. "You have a guest. I'll come back later." Qi Cha smiled. "It's all right. Miss Chen just so happens to want to have lunch with me. It's almost noon. Why don't we all have lunch?" Anran smiled. "Who is this person? She barged in so suddenly. Doesn't she know barging in without knocking is rude? Doesn't she know that this is the president's office? Shouldn't she greet us? Are the people in the Mo Corporation so disrespectful?" Although Chen Xiao spoke with a smile, her tone didn't seem kind at all. "She is my best friend and the chief designer of this company, Qi Cha. Jinrong specifically hired her from abroad with a high salary. Is she not worthy to have a meal with Miss Chen?" Anran smiled and asked. Chapter 420, Suffering Because You Want Face. Qi Cha wanted nothing more than to rip the woman apart. This woman was too much. If it weren't for Anran, she would have rushed up and slapped her. "Qi Cha? So you're Qi Cha. I especially like your work. Ever since you became famous, I've been chasing after your works. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any of them each time. I only managed to get one from the Deep Girl series. The dress is specifically beautiful, and I still have it in my closet as I'm unwilling to wear it. Can you give me a few pieces for free? I don't mind if it isn't free. Can I get you to customize a few pieces?" Chen Xiao's expression immediately changed as she stood up with a smile. When she heard that she was a fan, Qi Cha found it hard to accept. The Deep Girl series was her most satisfactory work, but she didn't expect to be bought by this woman. It was such a shame, but she straightened her back at the thought. "Sorry, I am currently employed by someone else and have signed a contract. All my works will be dedicated to the Mo Corporation, and I can't take on private work alone. I'm afraid that I won't be able to fulfill your wish," Qi Cha said. Hearing this, Chen Xiao's expression dimmed, feeling a little disappointed, but her smile quickly came back. If you really can't, just say that you made it for yourself and give it to me. Don't worry, I have money and my dad is the president of a bank. How can I not have money? Miss Chen, since your father is the president of a bank, why did you leave him and come out here alone? Ayn Rand smiled. It's not convenient for me to tell you. If Junron mentioned me to you, he would have told you why I came out. Chen Xiao stood up with a smile. It's getting late. I know a Chinese restaurant that is newly opened nearby. Why don't we try it together? I've been abroad for a long time, and I haven't had Chinese food in a long time, Chen Xiao said. Ayn Rand and Qi Qiao looked at each other and walked out. The three of them arrived at a Chinese restaurant and had attracted a lot of attention the moment they entered. Chen Xiao was very confident, thinking that everyone was looking at her, so she smiled at them. Ayn Rand and Qi Qiao seemed to have received a lot of attention. Ayn Rand, are these people looking at you? I can't believe that you still attract so much attention, even though you're already married. Don't tease me. Can't you see that someone in front is gloating? Ayn Rand pointed at Chen Xiao and said. Some people like to be arrogant, Qi Qiao muttered. The three of them found a table and sat down, casually picking up the menu. Chen Xiao looked at the price and felt a little scared. Her father was the president of a bank, but because she had escaped, her father had frozen her money, and she didn't have a lot of money on hand. She chose this Chinese restaurant because she thought Chinese food was cheap. She didn't expect it to be so expensive. Even a pot of tea cost more than 300 yuan. Ayn Rand saw through her thoughts and smiled. Miss Chen, is it too expensive? But surely the president of a bank's daughter can afford the food here. Chen Xiao looked troubled, but she gritted her teeth and persisted. He said I can't afford the food here. It's just that I didn't like the food here. Order whatever you want, it's my treat. She was a prestigious young lady. How could she endure such a humiliation? Then, Miss Chen, I won't stand on ceremony. Qi Qiao took the menu and ordered 3 dishes on each page. Chen Xiao looked at her and felt her heart ache, but she couldn't stop her. Miss Qi, you ordered too much. Can you finish it? Chen Xiao smiled wryly. If I can't finish it, I can take it away and give it to my colleagues. Anyway, Miss Chen is rich, right? Qi Qiao said. Get me another mango pudding and the most expensive pizza. 3 cups of coffee and 2 pieces of Black Forest cake. Ayn Rand saw that Chen Xiao's face had darkened. She estimated that the meal would cost 3,000 to 4,000 yuan, but since the other party said that she was the daughter of the president of a bank, she definitely could afford it. Qi Qiao, Miss Chen is Jinron's savior, Ayn Rand smiled and said. Really? In that case, I have to thank you today. I ordered so many dishes as a form of repayment for saving his life. If it weren't for you, Ayn Rand would have never met Jinron. Chen Xiao nodded slightly, still thinking about what to do later. She only had about 1,000 yuan in her pocket, so how could she come up with 3,000 to 4,000? She had never felt frustrated about money before, but now she knew the troubles one had without money. Chen Xiao lowered her head and kept scrolling through her phone, wanting to borrow some money from her rich friends. But those people were distancing themselves from her as if they were running for their lives. It wasn't that they didn't have the money, it was just that her parents were strict and they didn't want to lend her money. She didn't want to embarrass herself in front of these 2 women, so she had to force herself to finish the meal. Miss Lin, are you and Jinron married because of love? From what I know, Jinron never gets close to women and he almost died 3 years ago. I specifically asked around and found out that you and Jinron are engaged in an arranged marriage. This is the first time I've seen such a marriage, and I think it's a little childish. Coincidentally, we didn't reject each other because of the engagement made by our parents. On the contrary, we became even more loving. Jinron even told me that we were going for a trip after he comes back from his business trip. It seems that we're going to the foreign resort island. I'm really looking forward to it. Chen Xiao kept pinching her fingers. This woman was too wicked. She couldn't understand why Jinrong would like her. And I'm so envious of you for having such a good husband, unlike me, who's still single, Qi Qiao said. Qi Qiao, I heard that you and Zhao Hen... We are just good friends. He tried very hard to pursue me, but I didn't agree. You know, I'm a celibate, So how could I accept his request? I eat alone, I drink alone, so why should I suffer the frustrations from another person when I can get into a relationship? I can't compare to you, who has such a good husband. I think it's better to live alone. That's true. My relationship with Junrong isn't something others can achieve. Don't you agree, Miss Chen? Anran deliberately talked to her. She saw that Chen Xiao was here to challenge her, so why should she be polite? I envy you, but I'm in trouble now. Junrong took me in and let me stay at a hotel, but the hotel isn't as comfortable as a house. I just wanted Junrong to make a room for me in his house today. I prefer the feeling of having a home. It's too cold in a hotel. Chen Xiao spoke deliberately. Chapter 421, Chased by a Black-Shirted Man. She didn't believe that she couldn't anger this woman. You saved Junrong's life. Logically speaking, you can stay at his house, but the house is being renovated currently. Junrong and I haven't renovated our new house since we got married. If you really want to have a home, I can send you to Junrong's grandma's house. Grandma is old and needs someone to keep her company. Coincidentally, Uncle is also at home. You can move in, talk to them, and tell them about your background and the past. After all, you are Junrong's benefactor. So I'm sure that old Mrs. Mo will take care of you and let you stay. She wanted to stay in Junrong's house, so why would she go to old Mrs. Mo's house? There's no need. Since it's a bridal house, I can help you try it out first. I can't accept the experience fee, Chen Xiao said. How could you think of that? Some people are so shameless as toads that they want to eat swan meat and are pigs that dig up cabbages. Qi Chao stared at the dishes on the table and said, I hope you don't mind. I was talking about the frog and pork cabbage meat. I guess this is the designer's occupational disease. I didn't mean it about anyone. Don't take it to heart. Qi Chao glanced at Chen Xiao as she spoke. Although Chen Xiao's face was grim, she still squeezed out a smile. The swan is still a swan after all. Even a wild duck can't impersonate it for a lifetime. She looked at the window and saw a group of familiar faces walking towards her. Thinking that this was a chance to escape, Chen Xiao picked up her bag, stood up, and spoke to the two of them. Sorry, this is my tree. I have to go now. As I have something going on, there are people chasing me outside, but don't tell them where I went. I owe you one for today, so can we talk about it later? After Chen Xiao left, the man in black walked over in swarms. Anwen, what exactly happened? Qi Chao looked at the men in black with fear. The banker's daughter must have run away, and this is about to be taken by her father. Anwen spoke calmly. A few men in black wore sunglasses and entered the restaurant, coming over to Anran. Where is the person who is sitting beside you? The leader was a tall and burly man, his voice deep and rich as though he had practiced speaking this way for many years. She went back to the hotel first. You can check the hotel she's in. Anran was calm and didn't seem panicked at all. The others in the hotel were frightened. They had never seen so many people in black suits who formed groups and looked like they were from the underworld. At this moment, the manager hurried over thinking that there was a robbery. Boss, don't worry. They aren't here to rob us. You saw it. You'll cause panic here. So you guys should leave. Anran persuaded. The man glanced around and left in groups again. Anran, you're so smart. Weren't you afraid at all? The man's chest muscles were so muscular, Qi Chao muttered. Aren't you afraid that Zhao Han will be jealous? Anran smiled and said. Qi Chao took a sip of her coffee and almost spat it out. How many times do I have to tell you? We aren't together. We're just friends. It's my business who I want to compliment. Why should he be jealous? To be honest, Zhao Han chased you for so long, but you weren't moved at all. She didn't think that Zhao Han was a presumptuous person. How could anyone be unmoved by such a pursuit? Of course I am, but a person like me doesn't have parents and is poor to the point of only having money. I lack love, and it wouldn't be right to rely on a man who will give me a sense of security. Money gives me a better sense of security. The main reason that I'm not prepared yet, I'll think about it when I can accept it. Qi Chao had no intentions of getting married or being in a relationship. She had been alone since she was a child, eating from hundreds of families' homes. Later, she studied abroad alone and didn't have a sense of security since she was a very young child. What reason did she have to expect someone else can give you a sense of security? It's up to you. I believe in Zhao-Han anyways, Anne spoke. She thought that Zhao-Han looked reliable, but she hadn't interacted much with him and couldn't say much. Can we start talking about men? Tell me about your latest products. Don't you know that your products have immediately caused a stir and are being sold online? Your products have been speculated to be a few hundred yuan a box, but the demand is still increasing. Is there anything left? I didn't manage to get a single bottle, Keecha asked. If you want a bottle, I can make one for you. It contains the pure essence of plants without any additives. Anne smiled and said, Alright, what should we do about these dishes? We can't finish them anyways. Keecha looked down at the table full of food a little worried. Try to eat as much as you want. If you can't finish, we can just pack it up. Anyways, it's paid for, so we can't waste it, right? Anne and Keecha ate before packing up the dishes and taking them back to the company to share with the employees. But because of the incident last time, Xianchen restricted Yaxin's movements, afraid that she would do something overboard. Mom, you're going overboard. You can't stop me from leaving the house. It's summer vacation. Where exactly are you going to? Xianchen stood at the door like a guardian angel. The school asked me to hand in an internship certificate. I don't even have a job now, but I have to work and hand in my certificate. Yaxin carried a bag and hurried out. It was our first day at work today. Yanshin, your actions will backfire and Yaxin will be more rebellious. Sashimi had taken care of 2 children before. She loved her granddaughter the most and couldn't bear to see her suffer even the slightest grievances. She had no choice but to say something now. Mom, how are we going to have a good life if she doesn't agree to the Zhu family's marriage? Shi Shan was afraid that Yaxin wouldn't come back after leaving. I believe in my granddaughter. She wouldn't do such a thing. Let her go. The marriage can't be rushed. You'll have to wait for Yaxin to think it through. Shi Yanshan agreed. If the brat didn't agree, there would be no use in forcing her. You brat, be careful and think about this more. Don't fool around with other men. Yaxin left the house without turning back. Yanshan, you're too impatient. Haste makes waste. Isn't it good that your daughter to stay by your side a little while longer? Why do you keep insisting on marrying her off in such a hurry? Who would be willing to marry your fool? Aren't you going to make her reconsider? Tingy isn't out, yeah, but we still have time. Why are you in such a hurry? Sashimi wanted her granddaughter to stay by her side for a while longer, unlike Xu Yanshan, who was anxious to see her gone. Chapter 422, Joining the Tang Corporation. I'm really anxious. If the Zhu family suddenly goes back on their word, the marriage will be ruined. I don't think that old man is kind either. He is rich and doesn't lack marriage prospects. I don't know what this girl is thinking, but she's so obsessed with obtaining a good marriage, and yet she doesn't agree to this one. Shi Yanshan cursed. Sashimi, who was standing at the side, didn't speak. She had spoiled her granddaughter since she was a child, and it would be difficult for her to accept the marriage. Meanwhile, Tan Shilin was sitting in his office, hugging his female secretary. Boss, I heard that you recruited a newbie. What position do you want her in? This female secretary, Jiang Mei, said as she hugged his neck. She had long heard that the company had recruited a new female colleague and was personally recruited by Tan Shilin. Presumably it was a female. She knew that this old fox was dishonest. He was too greedy. The same position as you. I'm warning you, don't bully her when she comes. The moment Tan Shilin finished speaking, Jiang Mei was displeased. He only needs one female secretary, and that was her. Why did he need another one? Isn't it enough that I'm here? Why do you need to transfer her over? Can't I handle the work here alone? Why don't you transfer her to another department? Do you want to rob the cradle? Why are you still unwilling to give up? Jiang Mei forced a smile. She could tell that this old thing wasn't honest at all. What are you talking about? This person is very important. You don't have to care about why I transferred her over. Just do your own thing and go back to work. Tan Shilin didn't have the mood to look at her old face anymore. Jiang Mei had been by his side for many years and he was sick of her. Couldn't he get a new girl? Boss, you're just trying to get rid of me after I outlived my usefulness. I heard that there's already a female celebrity in your family, and you gave her such an expensive bag, which she sent to her company, Jiang Mei said enviously. Chan Qinglin looked up at her and asked, Did you follow me or did you investigate me? Boss, I would never. It's just that I have a friend who works in the management company. She told me that you sent a lot of branded bags and 999 roses there. She's the envy of everyone, Jiang Mei sighed. What do you know? Go back and do your work. Don't mind my business. Tan Xilin chased Jiang Mei away, full of anticipation for Yaxin. Suddenly, his internal phone rang and the front desk informed him that Yaxin was coming to work. Chan Xilin invited Yaxin over happily. Jiang Mei heard everything from the side. She knew that this old man didn't have any good intentions. But Yaxin definitely wasn't a good person either. She was still too young to steal her man. Yaxin led to the first desk receptionist to Tan Xilin's office. Boss, she's here. You may leave. I have something to tell Miss Lan. Tan Xilin chased away the front desk and Jiang Mei, leaving the two of them in the room alone to talk. Miss Lan, long time no see. Please have a seat. Tan Xilin politely invited Yaxin to sit, but his eyes were doing around. I wonder what I'm going to do specifically. Can you give me an internship certificate? Yaxin spoke deliberately. Don't worry, I'll get the HR department to give you an internship certificate. As long as you listen to me obediently, I guarantee that you won't have to worry about food or clothing. You'll be my assistant. The person who just left is Jiang Mei. You are my assistant just like her. From now on, the two of you will be working together. Tan Xilin placed his hand on her thigh dishonestly. Yaxin stepped to the side. I'm here to work. I hope you will show me some respect. Also, how are you going to put me in Mo Jinrong's bed? Are you so anxious? Jinrong isn't even back from his business trip yet. So I won't have the chance even if I want to. Young lady, let's wait a little while longer. Right now, you just have to do your part. Tan Xilin looked at her lustfully. What are you referring to? Yaxin looked up at him, seeming to sense his ill intentions. Tan Xilin reminded her and moved closer. He smelled a fresh scent on her body. I'm here to work, not to sell myself. Yaxin stood up, seemingly unwilling to accept this deal. Miss Lan, did you forget about the photos in my hand? You promised me back then. So are you going back on your word now? It's all right. I believe that you're a smart person and will understand. I'll give you one day to consider. Come to my office tonight. We can have a good talk about the photos. Yaxin felt disgusted and hurriedly changed the topic. I'm going to work now. With that, she carried her bag and walked out. Just then, Jiang Mei was eavesdropping out the door. She eyed Yaxin deliberately. Just then, Jiang Mei was eavesdropping at the door. She eyed Yaxin disdainfully. She had the appearance of a student and looked innocent. No wonder that old thing liked her. But judging from the vixen-like appearance of the woman in front of her, she didn't seem like a good person. Are you Yaxin? Jiang Mei walked around her and spoke disdainfully. Where is my desk? What do you need now? Yaxin's tone was hostile and she didn't give her any face either. After leaving the office, I'll be your senior, your leader. You'll have to listen to me. You take that document on the table and photocopy 100 copies. Then read through all the documents on that table before organizing it into a report. Pass it on to me after work. If you can't do it, then you'll have to stay overtime tonight. Our team is doing a team-building activity today, so you don't have to go. Jiang Mei was deliberately making things difficult for the new vixen. She had bewitched that old thing now, and now she wasn't even allowed to punish her. Yaxin looked at the mountain of documents on the table. How could a newbie like her finish all these things before work? But she had no choice. You could only endure the humiliation there. Yaxin took the document on the table and went to the printer. Coincidentally, the printer had run out of paper and she didn't know how to replace it. She wanted to seek help from people around her, but no one was willing to talk to her. She could only look around awkwardly. She couldn't even find any paper. Jiang Mei couldn't stand anymore and walked over to scold her. Who do you think you are? This is the first time I've seen such a stupid employee. She cursed as she replaced the paper in the printer. Her contemptuous gaze hurt Yaxon's feelings. Yaxon was embarrassed. She lowered her head and copied the papers one by one. Chapter 423, Targeted. After copying the 100 pages, Yaxon handed the 100 copies to Jiangmei. Sorry, I remembered wrongly. There's no need to make 100 copies. Throw those papers away. Jiangmei spoke deliberately. The people around them could feel that Jiangmei was deliberately making things difficult for her, but she had the boss here, and she was the apple to the boss's eye. Who would dare to retort? Yaxon could only swallow her anger and silently return to her seat to sort out the stack of documents. She was a medical professional and couldn't understand his reports. Besides, the young maid didn't tell her what kind of reports she was going to do, so she could only force herself to do the report as best as she could. Yaxon still had a lot of work to go through by the end of work. The young maid sneered. It seems that some people really can't participate in today's team building. Work overtime here and prepare the report for me tomorrow morning. I hope I don't see someone here working overtime. She smiled and led her employees out to play. Everyone looked at her differently. Some showed sympathy, while others showed contempt. Because of her incident had spread throughout the company, many said that she was Tan Shilin's lover, so many people didn't look at her kindly. Yaxon looked around and saw that she was indeed alone. She could only silently arrange the incomprehensible documents on her desk. Tan Shilin walked out of the office and suddenly appeared beside her. You can only rely on me, or they will bully you even worse than this. The company is like a society. You can't do without a backing, and your backing is me. I told you long ago that as long as you behave, no one will dare to bully you. She deliberately made things difficult for you. If you choose me now, you can choose not to work at all. Of course, if you refuse, you might have to work overtime and work until dawn. Tan Shilin placed his hand on her shoulder. Yaxon didn't resist. She suddenly understood that she couldn't survive in this company alone. Even if she worked overtime today, after reading all these documents, there would be problems tomorrow. She would throw her report in the trash and pretend that nothing had happened. Sure, I agree, but I hope that you will keep your promise. I only have 1 month. If Chenrong isn't still mine, I really might have to marry that fool. No matter what, Yaxon didn't want to marry that fool. Tan Shilin smiled. He didn't know how to judge Yaxon. Should he call her foolish or stupid? But because she was still young and had some value, he would pretend not to know. He pulled Yaxon into the office and closed the door. The sounds in the office gradually grew louder. The ups and downs and the soft moans ended an hour later. Don't worry, I will be your backing from now on. You can go home. Tan Shilin wiped the sweat off his head and wore his clothes and smiled. The moment Yaxon straightened her clothes and left his office, Li Shishi came over to check up on him. She saw a woman walk out of her husband's office and was furious. She went up and grabbed Yaxon's hair. Are you that vixen? What were you two doing in the office? Yaxon cried out in pain. Who are you? When Tan Shilin heard the voice, he hurriedly opened the door and was shocked to see Li Shishi. What are you doing? Let go. He stopped her. You're stopping me? It seems that she really is that vixen. Haven't you had enough young girls? And you vixen, how dare you seduce him? Do you think you're incredible just because you're pretty? She released Yaxon and slapped her. What are you doing? She's just here to give me a document. What has gotten into you? Don't accuse her. She isn't a vixen. You're just being paranoid. Why can't you just let it go? Tan Shilin said furiously. Give you a document? So she just brought a document into your office? Li Shishi pushed Yaxon aside and walked into the office. The office was ordinary, but the sofa looked odd, as though it had been moved. What's with the sofa? Li Shishi pointed to the sofa and asked. It's nothing. I just dropped something behind it. I moved the sofa a little before taking it out. You're so paranoid. Tan Shilin said furiously. I'm being paranoid? Since it's like this, then why don't we just break it off? Tan Shilin, you're such a jerk. Li Shishi cursed. How can I be with you if I'm not a jerk? I told you, I can give you a lot of money. I can give you whatever you want, but I can't be with you solely. Aren't you with me because you want money? I'll give that to you. If you know what's best for you, get lost and don't disturb me again. Tan Shilin spoke impatiently. Good, good. Let me see that adulterous pair look like. Li Shishi was furious. She grabbed Yaxon's face and looked at it, finding it familiar. I seem to have seen you before. What's your name? Li Shishi seemed to have seen her before, but she couldn't remember. Lan Yaxon. Yaxon raised her head and looked at the woman in front of her. She seemed a little familiar, too. Wasn't she the superstar? You are Li Shishi? She looked up and asked. That face looks familiar. What exactly is your relationship with Ayn Rand? Li Shishi released her face and questioned. I have nothing to do with her. She's just some idiot. Yaxon's face was stinging from the slap. And you're also an idiot. The thought of Ayn Rand made Shishi furious and frustrated. She slapped her again. The sides of Yaxon's face were rapidly swollen. You dare to hit me? Yaxon couldn't take it anymore, so she slapped her back. Damn it. Li Shishi was furious and raised her hand, wanting to slap her again. Enough, enough. This is the company. Stop. He slapped Yaxon and warned her. Is she someone who you can hit? Are you going to be responsible if something happens to her baby? Although Tan Shilin was a scumbag, he loved his biological son very much. It wasn't easy for him to have a biological son, and he loved him very dearly. How could he let others bully him? She had to comfort Li Shishi for the sake of his own flesh and blood. You also know how to have a biological son. I don't think you really love our son. Tell Master Tan that we don't want him anymore, Li Shishi said as she started to act pitiful. Chapter 424, Trouble. Wait a minute, what are you making a fuss for? You're the one who's being unreasonable, and yet you're showing off. If it weren't for the fact that you're carrying a child, I would have slapped you. Tan Shilin was displeased. Tan Shilin, you're too much. Have you fallen for Ayn Rand? Since you can't have her, you went for her sister? You're so disgusting. Li Shishi was furious. What has that got to do with you? I didn't hit you because you're pregnant, but you don't have the right to meddle in my business. If you were talking about being disgusting, you were the same. Aren't you just interested in my money? If it weren't for the child, Tan Shilin would have kicked her out of his life. Don't drag me into your personal matters. I'm leaving. Yaxon felt that she was caught red-handed and was in an awkward position. Stop, you want to run away now? Do you think you're reasonable after you became a third party? If it weren't for the fact that the company is empty, I would have embarrassed you in front of everyone. Li Shishi was unwilling to let her go. Tan Shilin was furious. When has he ever been controlled like this? Li Shishi, get out of here. If you weren't pregnant, do you think you would still be in this company? This company is mine. You don't have to care about what I want to do. Yaxon, go first. Yaxon covered her flushed face, suddenly feeling aggrieved. She went straight home after leaving the company. Shi Yanshan was about to call her when the door opened. You brat, where did you go? I was about to call you because I thought you weren't coming home tonight. Yaxon lowered her head to conceal the bruises and returned to her room. You brat, say something when you come back. You didn't say a word after coming back. How was work today? Shi Yanshan wanted to open the door to ask about it, but she realized that it had been locked from the inside. Yanshan, you're so hot-tempered every day. Can you not be so angry? Our granddaughter has been worked the entire day. She must be tired and doesn't want to talk. Why are you forcing her? Will you be happy if you force her to suffer? Sashimi felt that Shi Yanshan had been too harsh on Yaxon these past 2 days, making her breathless. You ingrate, I raised you in rain. Shi Yanshan was still upset. Yaxon laid on the bed alone, sobbing. She got stuck in a quagmire and couldn't get out. It was all Ayn Rand's fault. One day she would kill her with her own hands. At the Mo family, Ayn Rand had been in the Mo family's company for the past few days and was busy with the company's matters. She found that the sales of the cosmetics had far exceeded the Kin family's highest standards, and was also the highest sales record in the Mo family history. The market that had originally seized by Kin family had been retrieved, and they even seized a portion of the Kin family's market. Mo-san originally followed Jinrong on the business trip, But Jinrong was afraid that Anran couldn't handle the company's affairs by herself, so he asked him to go back. There was a knocking at the door. "Come in." Anran thought that it was Chen Xiao, hence her tone wasn't good. "Young madam, I'm back," Musan said. "Musan, why are you back? Is the matter over yet? Did something happen?" Anran was clearly surprised, thinking that Jinrong had returned early. Up to now, Shang Li had only shown a slight flaw and hadn't revealed his true identity. Wasn't it too early to end this matter? "No, young master was afraid that you wouldn't be able to handle the workload, so I especially came to help you. Didn't something big happen the moment I came back?" Mosan received the latest news that several customers had allergic reactions after they purchased their latest cosmetics. They were demanding compensation from the headquarters. They also wanted to see the company, which was why he was in such a hurry to hurry back. Something happened? Anna was still in a daze. She hadn't heard any news at all. A few customers who came from the goodness knows where had a serious allergic reaction after buying our latest cosmetics from several of our shops. They found a lawyer and want to sue us. They also asked for compensation, and now the matter's escalated. Before long, our sales will plummet and our shows will plummet. Bossmo can't make an appearance yet, so you have to decide. How could this be? The cosmetics I've researched are suitable for any type of physique, so there definitely wouldn't be any problem. Did you violate my formula during the production process and add something you shouldn't have? Henry believed that her cosmetics were fine and she would send them for a quality inspection personally. We refined it according to your recipe and used the best things, which is why we dared to sell it at such an expensive price. But now that there's a problem, what should we do? Mosan was anxious. Anna didn't panic. She leaned back in her chair and started to think. Since the matter has blown up, why don't we make it worse? Someone might have tampered with the matter. Send all the samples to the quality examination and take those problematic bottles for inspection. You can also discuss this with the legal department and the publicity department. I believe that there's nothing wrong with my cosmetics, so I need to find the troublemakers and get them to visit a doctor to prove it. If I find out that someone was behind this, I'll sue them immediately. In addition, we need some media reporters to blow the matter up so we can prove our innocence. Anna didn't cause trouble, but she wasn't afraid to be trouble either. Since someone couldn't beat her and liked to play dirty, she would play out in the open. Young madam, young master's suggestion is to compensate directly and apologize if you find anything wrong. Before Mosan left, Jinran reminded him. Now that he isn't around, the entire company would to listen to me. I didn't do anything wrong, so why should I apologize? Don't tell me you don't trust me either, Hanran asked. Young madam, how could we not trust you? It's just that we invite the media. Someone might find a loophole, and if this matter is exposed to the public. If someone exploits a loophole, they'll definitely give themselves away. When the time comes, wouldn't we have to catch their tail? Anran's lips lifted slightly as if everything was under control. Young madam, who do you think did this? Mosan asked. Any old fox in the business world would possibly be the culprit, but only Qin Hao, that old fox, likes to play dirty. Anran guessed that it was Qin Hao because she couldn't think of anyone else besides him. Chapter 425, Testing It Personally. The Mo family store was surrounded by reporters. Several swollen-faced women were at the door yelling at the reporters. These are harmful things. This black shop ruined my face. I have never had an allergic reaction to anything I used in the past. When I went to the hospital, they said that it could never be fixed. They said that they would compensate me for the damage to my face. How am I supposed to live for the rest of my life when my face is like this? Look at me. My face is red as a pig's head. I'm going to see them. If you don't come up with a solution today, we're not leaving. Hurry up and film it. The few women were yelling at the door, attracting the attention of many passerbys, and the reporters' cameras were constantly snapping photos of them. The manager had no choice but to call the headquarters. Anran felt that the matter couldn't be resolved so easily, so she went to the store to have a look. Who was causing trouble here? Anran spoke from behind the reporters, and many turned to look at her. Who are you? Are you the owner of the shop? The woman covered her swollen face and asked. I'm the boss. I'm in charge of the shop. Anran stood in front of the media and announced aggressively. Are you in charge? If that's the case, then we can have a good talk. Look at my face. What the hell is the thing you're selling? I'm here because of your reputation, but it turned out to be a lousy product that cost me thousands of yuan. If you know what's best for you, return the money to me and compensate me with a sizable sum. Otherwise, I'm going to sue you. The woman spoke aggressively. Anran eyed the injuries on their faces. They were all swollen and their skin were filled with pimples, but there was no sign of injury on the edges. She reached out to touch it, but was dodged by the woman in disgust. Are you sure that the injuries on your face are caused by our cosmetics? Anran asked. Of course, are you going to go back on your word? This is all because of you. You better be responsible. The woman was still aggressive and unforgiving. I can very responsibly say that there isn't any problem with our product. I spent a lot of effort on the product and developed it myself. The ingredients inside are all herb extractions, and there definitely wouldn't be any problem with the pure plant essence. It is suitable for any type of skin. If you're saying that your faces are caused by our products, I want a doctor's certificate. Didn't you say that you visited a doctor? Do you have a doctor's report? We have sent all the products in the same batch for a quality inspection. If there's any problems, we will be held accountable. But if there isn't anything you accuse us, we will pursue legal action against you. When the time comes, it won't be just compensation. You will also be jailed for a few years. You have to think this through. The women were frightened by Anran's words and didn't dare to speak for a long while. They looked around to make sure. At this moment, some people in the crowd started to stir up trouble as they yelled at Anran. I don't think you want to be responsible, so why are you threatening her? A black shop is a black shop. What else is there to explain? That's right, she's threatening ordinary people just because she is rich and powerful. Don't forget who raised you. Anran watched as the people in the crowd were enraged, and finally understood that this was premeditated. I'm telling the truth. The testing organization has the most authoritative one. You will know when the time comes. I'm not scaring you. If your schemes goes awry, your employer won't pity you and if you end up in jail. If you want to continue, I won't stop you. Anyways, the results will be out soon. I believe that there won't be any problems with my own products. Anran walked to the store, picked up a box of facial cream, opened it in front of everyone, and evenly applied the facial cream to her face. These cosmetics are the same as the ones produced and the ladies used, and are from the same batch. If there aren't any problems with my face, then it means that there weren't any problems with my product. It also means that someone is deliberately making these accusations, and I will let my lawyer handle the matter. If you have any questions, please speak to my lawyer in detail. Are you still going to sue me? They can help draft the lawsuit. Anran smiled and said. The woman stood frozen at the same place in a daze. They seemed to be really scared, but there were people in the crowd cheering them. Don't be afraid, we'll support your decision. Anyways, it's true that this happened, so what are you afraid of? It seemed to be telling the woman not to be afraid because someone is backing them up. The women were emboldened. How much money do you have? What's so great about this bottle? It can be a coincidence if there isn't anything wrong with it. After all, you're the owner and this is your store. Who knows if you did anything to it? My reporter friend saw it and the cameras captured it clearly. I took it from the counter. Isn't it different from the ones you bought, right? Since you say that there is a problem with the bottles, show them to us. That way, we can send these bottles to the quality inspection department for a test. If it really is your problem, we will definitely compensate you and not make any excuses. Anran quickly twisted the cap back onto the bottle. The cream in her face was fully absorbed. Her skin was very good to begin with and appeared even more crystal clear under the nourishment of the facial cream. Strange, why isn't the problem with her cream? Someone in the crowd started to doubt this. The products they sell must have been tampered with to scam ordinary people like us. Everyone, don't buy the products, they're all fake. The women were arguing. Anran turned her head and whispered to the manager, who turned and entered the store. I don't know what schemes you're discussing, but we won't leave until you give a reasonable explanation. At the same time, the reporters raised their video cameras and started screaming. News of the problematic Mo Corporation had spread across Wrong City. Kid Hao was very happy to see this. This is what he wanted. Sure, this matter was handled well, just like what I did back in the day. Thank you for the compliment, Dad. Shuer watched the news live from the side. This way, the Mo family's career would definitely suffer and the company's reputation would be tarnished. Jinrong and Anran would definitely suffer as well. But the next second, they were stunned. The store manager brought out a basin of water and handed it to Anran. Anran took the basin of water and splashed it directly at the woman. "What are you doing?" the women screamed as they were shocked.